Welcome to episode 85 of The Place of Sound. I'm your host, Natalie Hall. The Place of Sound is a show that explores the theme of space, or the social geography, using sound and listening. This is done through a variety of audio media production formats, so you can expect to do a few different types of listening in a single show. Episodes consist of what we refer to as audio portraits, or oral history-style interviews that explore topics of home. Soundscape compositions, which use everyday sounds to communicate the personal and social significance of a given place. And we typically end the episode with a short documentary-style piece that explores the place-based identity of the producer. The aim with these projects is to allow the producer to think about the places that made them who they are today. These are the types of projects you can expect to hear on The Place of Sound, and all of them are produced by students here at Carleton University. They're what gets produced in Comms 4501, Digital Media Production, which is Vincent Andrusani's fourth-year workshop course in the Communication and Media Studies program. I think it's exactly a week since the spring solstice, or the first day of spring. So we're officially welcoming a warmer and brighter and better than ever season. It's also a little paradoxical because as the season changes into something warmer and sweeter, we're also in the last 2 weeks of school, it's really the depths. It can be super hard and stressful. And for me, I'm 2 weeks out from officially being done all coursework. And I'm graduating this summer in June. So I hope that we can all take some time during this during these last 2 weeks to, despite all the deadlines and the projects and exams, to slow down a little bit, to take some time for ourselves and be grateful about making it through, because we all did that. It's amazing to see. And to everyone graduating or to everyone starting, congratulations and good luck. And I appreciate you all for tuning into this week's episode, because I know during this time everything is taking a backseat and your attention is divided. So thank you for taking the time to be with us. And it's going to be a really exciting episode. So let's get into it. As always, each student will jump in to offer a quick introduction to their piece before we listen to it, to give a sense of whose voice you'll be hearing and what the conversation will be about. To start us off, Harris Widdicombe, talking to his neighbor, Lee. They talk about escaping the draft and coming to Canada. Take it away, Harris.
Hi, my name is Harris Blake Widdicombe, and I'm a fourth-year student of Communication and Media Studies at Carleton University. For this audio portrait, I spoke to my friend and neighbor Lee, who lives directly above me. He was born in Buffalo, New York, and we talked about leaving his home country and finding a new home in Canada.
At the time that I was drafted, they had a lottery system, which was based on your birthday. And then they would have spin the wheel or whatever, and then would publish a list of, say, my birthday's April 4th, it would, your number so-and-so, up to 365 for the days of the year. They would be drafting a certain quota. My birthday fell within the lower range, so I was drafted. However, I didn't have an actual plan about what I was going to do. I was drafted and was called to appear at the draft board at such and such a date, which I did. And we were there, and they filled out a whole bunch of forms. There were like sergeants barking orders and stuff, and they said, okay, we're this evening, or no, it was that afternoon, that's right. They let us out for lunch, And they said when we returned for lunch, we would be flying to Fort Dix, New Jersey. There also would be the swearing-in ceremony. So technically, I'm still a civilian, right, when I'm there. But after lunch, I would be, and then if I decided to bail out after lunch, I would be in the category of a deserter, not a draft resistor. So anyway, the joke is that I'm still out to lunch. The Gideon Bible Society was there and handed out Bibles, and they weren't lead-lined, so they were basically useless. Well, I went home for 10 minutes to tell my parents what I'd done. I spent a night or two at a good friend's house down the street, being a little paranoid, and it happened that an aunt from Toronto was visiting. I think she came for a wedding or some family function, and my parents said, would you mind skipping the function and just taking Lee back with you? And that's what happened. And it was very supportive because I went to Toronto, and the neighborhood that I was living in was just, rife. I mean, I don't know how many thousands of draft dodgers there were in Toronto at that time. Before I had left, I applied for conscientious objector status. They have a whole process that you go through, and I think I even talked to, they had counseling services about, what was appropriate to say at these hearings. And I went to a hearing, and one of the questions they asked me was what would happen if the communists came to Buffalo and started raping your mother. I laugh now, but sorry, Mom, I'm a pacifist.
Thank you to both Harris and Lee. Being able to hear Lee's story is one of the reasons audio portraits are so important and why it's often one of my favorite kinds of audio story. It's really a living document of attitude toward the drafts in America during what I assume to be the Vietnam War, although it was never explicitly mentioned in the piece. And I've always found it the most compelling way to consume bits of history is to hear the people who lived through it speak on the matter, hear the emotion in their voice, and really get a first-hand account of the time. So here's to a very long lunch for Lee, and thank you for resisting and for telling your story here on The Place of Sound. Now we'll hear from Keven Boudriau. In this soundscape composition, Keven takes us along as he does street photography in Ottawa. So here's Keven.
Hello, my name is Keven Boudriau, and in my soundscape composition, I've decided to document a moment in time doing street photography in the city of Ottawa, showcasing the challenges you will face and how photography is not only about what you see, but also what you hear. I hope you enjoy. November 2nd, 2024. It's so cold outside. If the weather drops any more, it might be the last day that I venture outside to do street photography. I see an opportunity. I take the lens cap off, adjust my settings. A bit too late. If you're not fast enough, you'd miss it. But the beauty lies within that difficulty. With the city as the canvas, you had to capture authentic moments and showcase that the reality people live in is much more beautiful than it might seem. Oh, birds. As someone who loves architecture photography, my head is always looking upwards. As my eyes lose my sense of place, my ears remind me of everything that's around me. That car that zoomed past looked so unique, but once again, I wasn't quick enough. There are so many interesting stories to be heard. But with one camera, it's impossible to capture them all.
So many businesses here.
With a construction site ahead, I remove my lens cap in anticipation. I always find myself wandering next to construction sites. They're proof that the world changes, and documenting that is truly exciting. I see something in the distance. Today was full of missed opportunities, and I can't let this one out of my grasp.
Thank you, Keven. There are so many parallels between the practice of field recording, for example, and photography. And both of those practices of going out into your environment and snapping pictures or recording audio really has to do with the act of noticing, which is something I've been thinking a lot about recently. The act of noticing is something we take for granted, especially with phones and technology, although it has been a thing forever that you take your environment for granted. Things can really pass you by when you make an active effort, a conscious effort to tune into your environment and to hear and see more than what is directly in front of you. Really opens your eyes to the space you're living in, and I think promotes a sense of gratitude and community and joy. I think Keven did a really beautiful comparison between the act of noticing in photography and in sound. So thank you for that. Lastly, we have Harvey Mafuta with an audio documentary about the proposed expansion of Carleton's gym. Take it away, Harvey.
At Carleton University, the fitness center is more than just a gym. It's a space where students connect, grow, and thrive. But with overcrowding and limited inclusivity, it's clear the current facilities can't meet the needs of the community. In this audio documentary, we'll explore the story of Carleton's proposed gym expansion, how it plans to tackle these challenges, foster mental and physical wellness, and serve not just the campus, but the Ottawa community. Through student voices and a look into the future, we'll uncover how this project is shaping a more inclusive community and a more connected tomorrow. This is Building Bridges, Carleton's Fitness Vision for Wellness and Community. These construction sounds soon will grow so familiar to the Carleton student body. With the commencement of the student gym's 21,000 square feet expansion, hammering and drilling will echo across campus, marking the start of a new transformation. In the fall of 2024, Carleton University students cast their votes on a referendum that could reshape campus life for years to come. The proposed expansion, funded by a $39 per term fee to be applied only after facilities completed, promises more than just additional space. It represents an investment in the well-being of students, athletes, and even the greater community of Ottawa. Though many might not yet realize its significance, this project is about more than just fitness. It's a story of progress, connection, and inclusivity. A vision for the future of campus life at Carleton University. This isn't the first time Carleton University has embarked on a project like this. Back in 2012, the fitness center underwent its last major expansion. Alongside this, Tag Park was revitalized, becoming a hub for the campus community. Sparked by the rebirth of the Ravens football program, these projects breathed a new life into the university, offering not just a space for athletes, but one that served everyone. One of the most notable outcomes of this revitalization was the return of the Panda Game, the biggest rivalry game in Canadian university football, drawing thousands of students, alumni, and fans each year. For both the University of Carleton and the University of Ottawa, the Panda Game has become a monumental event, fostering school pride and uniting the student body in celebration. This expansion wasn't just about facilities. It became a cornerstone of tradition, community, and campus culture. For many, this expansion wasn't just about creating a gym or a stadium. It was about fostering a sense of connection and pride. It was a transformative moment, one that shaped the campus and brought people together in ways that hadn't existed before. Fast forward to today, and Carleton's gym is struggling to meet the needs of its growing student population. With over 30,000 students, the current fitness center often feels cramped and overstimulating, leaving many unable to fully use the facilities.
Packed. It seems like there's not enough space for anything. Everything takes too long. It feels like we basically have more people than we could accommodate at this point, because like you shouldn't have to wait like forever for a squat rack, especially in a school this big. We have like 37,000 kids.
Overcrowding has become a daily challenge, with students waiting in line for equipment or squeezing into tight spaces. For some, the lack of inclusivity in the current setup adds another barrier. Spaces meant to foster wellness and connection sometimes leave students feeling frustrated and excluded.
We just a bunch of sardines packed in the can for real when it comes to like athletes and stuff like that. I don't feel like it's enough space now.
These challenges highlight the need for change. Spaces that don't just accommodate but actively support the diversity and needs of the Carleton community.
Look around anytime you're at the gym, the ratio from like guys to girls is crazy. And I feel like one, usually overstimulated because it's hot, it's sweaty, but then there's also like so many people. And especially, like, you know, when you, like, the thing you want isn't available, and it's like, okay, I don't know where to go, what to do. Also, I feel very perceived at the gym. Like, people are looking at me. Which, like, sometimes is reciprocated, but, like, most of the time not. So...
The new expansion scheduled for completion in 2028 will provide over 32,000 square feet of space, with dedicated areas for cardio, weights, multi-purpose activities, and women-only zones. This project aims to make fitness accessible, inclusive, and welcoming to all. Designed with inclusivity in mind, the expansion isn't just about adding space. It's about creating an environment where every student feels they belong. So as these sounds continue to echo across campus, let them remind us of what's to come. A brighter, more inclusive future for Carleton. One that serves not only the student body, but also the broader Ottawa community. Because building a space for everyone means building a stronger and more connected tomorrow.
Thank you so much. So I have to confess, just like in the last episode where I said I am not a driver, so I couldn't exactly relate to the parking struggles. I am not a frequent patron of the Carleton gym, but I think it's because of many of the reasons Harvey pointed to in this piece. And I'm always interested and excited by the pieces we get into the show that are grounded by students' desire for progress and support of campus or city services. I think Harvey pointed to the very real experience of Carleton students and why these services are so necessary and why they should be provided with greater funding. But it was also a great reminder in general to pay attention to your institution's referendums, because that determines how the school uses your money. Like, for instance, UOttawa's referendum that took place a couple years ago, I believe, funding was completely cut for their campus radio station, Chuo, and it was largely in part to do with under-participation in the student body in voting for the referendum. So whenever you can, take a look at the referendum, vote in school elections, make your voices heard, and get involved in the community. Thank you all so much for listening. And before we conclude, I want to bring our attention back to the bank block tenants and the Ottawa Neighborhood Organizing Center. We spoke briefly last episode about BBT and Ottawa Knock. When we aired that episode on March 17th, BBT was starting their hearing at the Landlord and Tenant Board. It concluded 1 day later on March 18th, 3 days earlier than planned. This is because the adjudicator granted Smart Living Properties' request to have BBT's witnesses disallowed on the grounds that the role of the LTB is not to base decisions on societal issues, such as the cost of living, for example. If you want to know more about this cause and the work BBT and Ottawa Knock is doing, you can find them at www.bankblocktenants.ca or on Instagram at bankblocktenants. And you can find the Ottawa Neighborhood Organizing Center at Ottawa Knock on Instagram. All of these links will be provided in the description of the episode. But I just wanted to leave us with the idea of how important it is to protect the rights of tenants and to resist mass evictions done wholly in the name of profit. If you go to Ottawa Knock and BBT, you will find out how intertwined these mass evictions and the rental market in general is wrapped up in student life, and how it can benefit many executives in university institutions. You will hear more about this in further episodes. Thank you all so much for listening, and once again, talk to neighbors, talk to friends, and please get involved. Once again, thank you Harris, Keven, and Harvey. And before I sign off, a couple of quick notes. A reminder that what we've listened to here on this show is only a fraction of the work produced in association with this project. If you're interested in checking out more, have a look at theplaceofsound.ca, where you're not only able to hear this audio work, but also see some of the original photos and writing that students produced to go along with the audio. There's also a featured work section on the site's blog where you can access some notable individual projects. And in the classes section, you can have a look at the portfolio website designed by students themselves, which hosts every project produced in this course. And lastly, under the Listen link, you're able to access the show's archive and listen back to any episode of the show you'd like to hear. But in the meantime, keep your ear out for upcoming episodes of the show, which air on CKCU Radio every other Monday at 6:30 p.m. and are available wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning into The Place of Sound, and happy listening.